Welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name is Adam Riancho, and we are back on YouTube. It's been quite some time. It's been over a month, and here we are. Just quick reminder what we're doing here. We're doing a live mock draft on Underdog. If you'd like to join me, I'm going to enter the 12-person $3 draft. So nothing too expensive, nothing too crazy, pretty low stakes here. But you can win some money if you'd like to join me. It looks like there's 6 spots open. So go ahead and join if you'd like. This should fill pretty quickly. I can't imagine it'll take too long. But in the meantime, we will give you a quick update on my life. It's been quite a long time since I've been on YouTube. So since I mean, as you can see, the background is different. I've moved. I'm no longer in my home in Los Angeles. I've actually moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm gonna get rid of this. I don't need that. But yeah, made a big change. Felt like was just too cooped up back in LA. Needed a change, and that's been the main reason why it's been such a long time since I posted any videos. Just needed to get my shit in order, and here we are. So I'm yeah, officially a Midwesterner, and it's been okay so far. I did have my car stolen a week ago. That's not been fun. It's been a big delay in pretty much everything going on, but you know, the insurance is handling it. Things are getting better, but as of right now, do not have the car at all. So that's been a big bummer, but otherwise, it's been pretty solid move. I'm happy. I'm happy that I took the leap of faith, took the risk, made the change, and yeah, we're gonna see how this goes. Maybe I'll stay here for a long time. Maybe I won't. But at the very least, I'll see how this goes for about a year. And if I like it, maybe I'll stay. Maybe I'll move somewhere else. I don't know. But yeah, been a rather different life for the last month or so, and it's been good. But that's obviously the main reason why there hasn't been much content. And to be completely frank with you, I don't know if I'll be able to have as much of a time commitment to this channel throughout the entire season, at least not on a daily basis with all of the editing involved. So I think I'm going to use these live streams a lot more. Hopefully I'll be able to get you videos every single day, and throughout the regular season, keep up all of the content that you're expecting on this channel. But here we are in the draft lobby. We have pick 11, and that's not that bad. Pick 11 is, at least if I'm at the end, I prefer to be around the turn. And at pick 11, you're not stuck at the bookend where you can at least plan ahead, where there's one team at least that you can kind of expect what they're going to do and then plan accordingly with your first pick. And it doesn't need to be, you know, pigeonholed into reaching on a bunch of players. That's kind of what you get stuck doing when you're at the turn, especially at the bookend. But with pick 11, I think it's not that bad. There are some players we're going to be targeting. I think we might look for Nick Chubb, definitely one of the safest running backs that you can have. And his ADP at number 12, that's definitely a solid spot to grab him. But if not, receivers I love in this range would be CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think CeeDee Lamb is actually really underrated. I think I'd prefer him over A.J. Brown. A little less competition. Devontae Smith kind of scares me. CeeDee Lamb really turned it on at the end of last season. Multiple games with 100-plus receiving yards to close out last year. And I feel like with no Zeke, that offense is really going to need to focus on the passing game. I think CeeDee Lamb is a really good price at number 11. So if Chubb is off the board, that's probably where we're going to go. But I have a feeling if we leave Chubb to team 12, that's probably who they're going to take. And that's why I'd rather just lock up the running back I want the most. In my opinion, that's a little more valuable. But we'll see what happens here. Let's just take a look at the board. Jefferson, CMC, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, followed by Eckler. A little high on Eckler. But if you want him, I get it. I'd rather go with Cooper Kupp. I'm not worried about that hamstring injury. And in this format, you need to start 3 wide receivers on a weekly basis. I think it's a little more advantageous to go with Cooper Kupp. When he's healthy, he puts up 20 plus points on a per game basis. It's just a matter of does he stay healthy or not. But it doesn't even matter if we do not get Nick Chubb. Interesting. Not what happens. So as I was mentioning, I do think I prefer CeeDee Lamb over A.J. Brown. And that's how my rankings are. That's who I'm going to take. I know it's not what the ADP suggests, but we're not in a tournament here. We are in a private 12-team league, and that means I'm going to take the best player available, not just the best ADP value that falls to me. And while there might be a little more touchdown production for A.J. Brown in traditional history, I think there's just more targets going to CeeDee Lamb, and I'm just a little bit more comfortable taking it. Do I go with double wide receiver or do I go with Barkley? I have Barkley similar to Nick Chubb in the top 5. And just knowing who's not going to be available coming back around on the turn, I think I'm going to go with Barkley. I think it's a little more valuable. When you are at the turn to lock up an elite running back, because there's just so many that go off the board in these next 20 picks, the comparable level of value just really isn't the same when we come back around at number 35. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe Breece Hall falls to us. I am not that worried about Dalvin Cook, and Breece Hall is a player I really, really trust, a player I've drafted a ton. So maybe that's who we'll take. But if he's not there, I'm not super in love with Jahmyr Gibbs or Najee Harris. It's just such a different tier compared to Saquon Barkley. If you look at Saquon's incentives that he added to his contract that he signed once he cleared up that holdout. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about that with Saquon anymore. If he gets that incentives, if he qualifies for them, he's going to have an even better season than he did last year. And last year was a top 5 running back. I expect that to be the case again. One of the few workhorses left, and I am a believer in the Giants offense. As you probably noticed, Darren Waller is in the thumbnail. I'm a big believer in Darren Waller this year. Mike Murray, hello. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the live stream. I don't know if you are the one who's answered our poll so far, but it looks like so far the poll does not believe in Darren Waller. Completely honest with you, and I think there's just a little bit more touchdown production for Darren Waller as the clear number 1 weapon in that offense. That's just how I see it. But we will move our thumbnail, whatever the hell, this picture-in-picture. I'm going to move myself. But just to see what happens at the turn. I think where I had it before, though, is probably the best spot for the sake of this live stream. But Chris Olave goes at 23. What happens here at the turn? Derrick Henry. Calvin Ridley at number 25. Calvin Ridley has really been moving up the board, and he is very valuable. Mike, you like Njoku a little later. I do like Njoku's value quite a bit. I think if you are going to wait on the tight end position, Njoku is not a bad option at all. However, just for my personal preference, I do think what is going on here? I do think that the upside with Waller is a little bit more enticing. Waller is capable of putting up 1,200 receiving yards, and while Njoku is maybe more of a threat in the red zone, it's not that much different, and I think Njoku relies a little bit more heavily on those touchdowns to really pay off, whereas Waller is just a huge threat. His camp has been incredible so far. The reports are he's the most dominant player for the Giants, and that makes sense. They pay him the most. Let's head over to the Over the Cap website where we can find salaries. That's a very useful tool. You always want to follow the money. And while I'll pull up Njoku in just a sec, let's just take a look at all the receiving options for the Giants. Waller is by far number 1, $11 million more per season than any other receiver for the Giants. Darius Slayton comes in number 2 at $6 million. Waller at 17 is a stud for that team. They pay him like crazy, and they're going to use him like crazy. I love Darren Waller. So that's a player we're going to target. However, at number 11, he's going to need to fall to us. He has been going closer to pick 72, 73. We probably won't get him, but I doubt I'm going to take him at pick 62. That's not the end of the world. That's perfectly fine. But who are our options at this moment? Lamar goes, so we're going to be getting one of Metcalf or Cooper. Can't say I love that difference. Our pick 12 here has no running back, and I got to be honest with you, as I'm not worried about Breece Hall. I'm going to take him, and to pair up Saquon Barkley and Breece Hall, the two New York running backs, I think is a very, very nice strategy. Really, really nice. And honestly, I'm not too upset if I don't get Cooper. I love myself some Jerry Jeudy with no more Tim Patrick and no more KJ Hamler, at least for a while. Jerry Jeudy's workload is very secure. And as a Chargers fan, I am very afraid of Keenan Allen. It's not that Keenan Allen doesn't produce at a high level, but Keenan Allen, let's pull up his exact age just to be quite sure. I know he missed, I want to say 8 games last season. Keenan Allen is age 31. That is not ideal. That's definitely not the best case scenario. He missed 7 games last season, but if we just pull up his straight up game log, there was also that game in the middle of the season, where he only played on, how many snaps was it? 23 snaps in week 7, 22 snaps in week 1. And if it wasn't for an injury to Mike Williams, I don't think they would have pushed it too heavily with Keenan Allen to return. So my understanding, my perspective on the Chargers wide receiver core is that, yes, while Keenan Allen is still an elite weapon, definitely a player that they really trust and is going to get his touches. Don't get me wrong here. Keenan Allen is definitely going to get a lot of targets. I don't really love his ADP in the 3rd round, and my main reason for that is because this team has Super Bowl aspirations. At the very least, they want to win a playoff game. Last year, we all know what happened against the Jaguars. They need Keenan Allen healthy in order to compete for a Super Bowl. And if that's the case, if that's what Brandon Staley is thinking with Kellen Moore, if he has any injuries, they're going to hold him out and not push it. Whatever his recovery timeline is, they're going to wait as long as they can to bring him back. Hopefully Mike Williams stays healthy, but we all know he's not a safe bet to do that. That's why they drafted Quentin Johnston in the 1st round. And Quentin Johnston has also been tearing up camp. He's been lighting it up to the point where Mike Williams has actually shifted into the slot. That's normally where Keenan Allen does a lot of his work. There's also a very underrated number 4 in Josh Palmer, who fills in perfectly when it comes to the skill set that Keenan Allen provides. The fact that Keenan Allen fell to pick 47 is, I think, way, way more appropriate of a value, as possibly the wide receiver 3 in this offense could definitely miss significant time. And I think Mike Williams is actually the true number 1. Next year, they may move off of him. The year after that, I think Quentin Johnston may start to be elevated above him. But Sport Dog 1000 just turned on after your first pick. Is this a best ball draft? Yes, this is a best ball draft here on Underdog. And if you've never played on Underdog, if you'd like to sign up, use my code Nice and Blunt and get a $100 deposit up to $100 matched dollar for dollar. That's a pretty solid deal. Good way to help out the channel if you have not signed up before. But most of you are on Underdog, so I know that's not really that viable. Let's just remind you what happened at the turn. After our Jerry Jeudy pick, we saw Christian Watson, then a little run on running back. Mixon, Miles Sanders, Najee Harris, followed by Drake London, Brandon Ayuk going quite high. This team really feels confident in Brandon Ayuk. I like him. I think he's just as valuable as Debo, to be completely honest with you, but you can sometimes get him coming back around at pick 53. In that instance, I may have preferred to go Keenan Allen over Brandon Ayuk. But Aaron Jones, followed by that. Joe Burrow, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Williams, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields. This team went double quarterback. Very interesting strategy. Phillip Blunt. We got double blunts in this draft. I've actually drafted many times with Phillip Blunt. This is not Best Ball Mania. I'll be honest with you. I am not of the volition where, like, especially if I want you guys to join, I'm happy to do one of these $3 drafts. It's a little bit more emblematic of how to prepare for your smaller, more private league where you only have to compete against these 11 other teams. On Best Ball Mania, the strategy is different. We have done tournaments in the past. I will be doing a Best Ball Mania at some point on the live stream, but for the sake of this video, we are only doing a $3 draft private 12-person league. So if we get enough likes on this live stream, perhaps we will fire up another one. At the moment, let's see, how many likes do we have? We have 1 like. Hit that like button. If we get at least 5 likes, because I'll be honest, I don't get a ton of concurrent views on this stream. If we get 5 likes and you're interested in joining me again, we will probably fire up another draft here. But the value on TJ Hawkinson here, really, really tempting. Falling to pick 59. I don't take him that much, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take him. Very, very good value. And I know that I'm not going to reach on Darren Waller with our next pick, so I'm going to increase my exposure. I do not have TJ Hawkinson a ton, and it's good to spread out your eggs in multiple baskets, especially on Underdog. TJ Hawkinson, not a tight end that I draft a ton. So it's not that I'm like averse to taking him, but as we've mentioned, I love the value on Waller a little bit later, and there's always some good tight ends going later. You rarely get TJ Hawkinson to fall to you at the end of round 5. I'm comfortable taking him here. Given we already have 2 running backs, already have 2 wide receivers, I'm praying that MD Boy does not take my guy. He doesn't. I love JSN. JSN could absolutely be the next Jamar Chase. I was livid. I was so upset when the Chargers got sniped by Seattle on JSN. He's such a good player. He's going to be the next Cooper Kupp, in my opinion. Just elite talent. He's better than Garrett Wilson. He's better than Chris Olave, and not afraid to reach on him. Actually, he fell 3 spots to us. I think this is excellent value on JSN. Really, really love him. Reports are that Geno Smith has been playing very well. He's kind of hard to like fully trust, in complete honesty. It's not like he has a long track record of being super successful, but I think JSN could actually overtake DK Metcalf. I'm not a guy who likes taking DK Metcalf in round 3 when you can get JSN at the 5-6 turn. Definitely prefer JSN. In terms of value, at least, I think Lockett is also a big question mark that can really eat into Metcalf's value. Lockett's always consistent, always puts up big numbers. I think one of those receivers really needs to underperform in order for Metcalf to actually pay off. And one quarterback who I think has excellent ADP value would be Geno Smith, going in round 10 most of the time. Sometimes he falls to round 11. I'd be very, very comfortable pairing up JSN with Geno Smith later on. It looks like Zach Charbonnet also appears to be healthy, so that's a player we might target if we're planning for the stack. And while I do love to take my boy Trevor Lawrence, I think he could absolutely be a league winner this year. That team's going to win a ton of games. I'm a little bit more tempted to take my third receiver, given that I went with 2 running backs in rounds 2 and 3. We're going to move off of that position for a while, and we need to start at least 3 receivers every week. Having JSN on our roster is a bit of a tear break. Like, Marquise Brown, while he is a wide receiver 1 in his offense, not a team that's going to put up a lot of points. We don't know when Kyler's going to come back. Lockett's the number 3 in his offense, so that's a little scary. Addison is not bad, but I would have had to reach on him to take him. And then Pickens, kind of touchdown dependent. That offense doesn't have a ton of upside with Matt Canada as the offensive coordinator. Gabe Davis, really high upside, great for this setting, but we're not going to reach on him, and we can take JSN at 62. So far, just to remind you of our roster so far, we got CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, JSN at receiver. We got Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall at running back, and then TJ Hawkinson is our tight end. He fell to pick 59, and that is not bad value on TJ Hawkinson. If Darren Waller falls to us, I think I might double up. I really love Waller. We could possibly go with, whoa, Tua at 78. That is I mean, I understand it, but feels like a reach. Feels like a very high investment on Tua at pick 78. Would much rather go Waller. There he goes. So I'm not going to do that. I would love Quentin Johnston here. I would love Javonte Williams here. Those are some really good options. I think given the Team 12 build, they waited a little bit on running back. They need running back a little bit more. If Javonte is available, we don't even have the decision between Javonte and Quentin Johnston. Johnston goes. So we're going to take Javonte Williams, a player who I think you should be really excited about. Absolutely trust him. He's going to play in the preseason. He appears to be fully healthy. He was a player I was really high on last year. And now that we have 3 workhorse running backs, we can kind of move off that position for quite some time. But it's tempting to go with Kamara, but I don't think we need to. I think we're going to go Brandon Cooks and open the door for the Dak Prescott double stack. We at least have CeeDee Lamb. If we can pair up those 2 receivers with Dak Prescott, that would be a very, very good combo. That's one of the strategies that is very helpful to have and implement in best ball, especially even in really any format. If you are correct about that offense, it's much more likely that it's because CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks get a ton of volume. Tony Pollard doesn't really have much competition. It doesn't really look like a guarantee that they bring in Zeke. I have a feeling they're going to go really heavy in the passing game with Mike McCarthy calling plays this year. And, kind of like those Green Bay Packers former teams where there'd be 2 elite receivers, we could see 100-plus targets for Brandon Cooks. There's 150-plus on the way for CeeDee Lamb. So that's kind of the logic with this pick. We're chasing the stack. I don't love Dak Prescott, to be completely honest with you. I'm not really a huge believer in him. But one thing to keep in mind on this format, we're going to pull up the rules real quick. Interceptions are not a big penalty on Underdog. Scoring. Here's what we're looking for. No, that's weird. Okay, there it is. Interception is only -1 on Underdog. It's not -2. So even though Dak Prescott was the interception leader last year in the NFL, despite missing 5 games, it's not as punitive. There isn't as big of a risk when you draft a quarterback who may be prone to throwing some interceptions. And, kind of like Jameis Winston in the past, if he does throw a ton of picks, that only makes it more likely that the opponent is going to score on their next drive because they have a shorter field, and that means they're going to be in catch-up mode. That means they're not going to run the ball as much. That means they're going to throw the ball even more. So I am not averse to taking Prescott in this format. I'm a little bit more worried about it in a typical standard type of redraft setting because those interceptions are twice as valuable in terms of penalty. It's twice as punitive when they throw a pick. So that's a player who I think does gain a little bit of value in this best ball format because of the settings. But following our Brandon Cooks pick, we see Treylon Burks go. He's been falling considerably. I'm not convinced he's fallen enough. I think I might rather have Sky Moore, to be completely honest with you. He's at least a little bit more guaranteed for production. I'd rather invest in the Chiefs offense than the Titans offense. And given Kadarius Toney and his injury is very much up in the air, Sky Moore is at least the most reliable option in that passing game behind Travis Kelce. Kelce's 34. If he were to ever miss time, Sky Moore and those receivers would really get a ton of value with Mahomes throwing them the ball. But following Burks, we see Kamara, Evan Ingram, James Cook, Dalvin Cook, Sky Moore, Pacheco, Gibson, Rashad Bateman, A.J. Dillon, Rashad Penny, Michael Thomas, Jameson Williams. That's a big reason why we go Javonte Williams at pick 83. Aside from Kamara, who is also getting suspended 3 games and in a heavy committee, there's no one that I really trust to have a ton of volume, especially in the passing game, as I do Javonte Williams. Those are just touches that are so guaranteed. I'm very, very comfortable with this late 7th round investment with Javonte, especially to prevent getting sniped by Team 12, who only has Etienne and Kenneth Walker compared to our Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall. Our running back platoon, way better in my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comment section if you prefer our running back strategy over the strategy of Team 12, who passed on Saquon at the turn. But bit of a run on wide receiver right now. Michael Thomas, Jamison Williams, Kadarius Toney, Elijah Moore, Cortland Sutton. And if looks like we're going to get Dak. It looks like that's who's going to fall to us. But we don't have to take him if we don't want to. Not the end of the world if we do not take Dak here, because the team after us already has Deshaun Watson. That is probably a likelihood that he's not going to take Dak himself. So I might just go with Charbonnet, as we've mentioned. Nope, we do not get Charbonnet at all. So it's very tempting to go with it, but I think I might just double up on quarterback and not risk getting sniped on our critical stack. We've invested heavily in Dallas, so I'm not going to pass on that opportunity. This guy could definitely snipe us because we sniped him. He could be a little bitter about it, not want us to get the snipe. If we leave it up to chance, it's a little bit safer. But we mentioned Geno Smith, who was very, very valuable last year. 315 fantasy points, 4,200 passing yards, 30 touchdowns. I could easily see him improving those numbers, especially with JSN coming into the fold. Zach Charbonnet, much better pass catcher at the running back position. I like Geno Smith a lot, and he correlates with our team. So I am going to go double quarterback. The skill players in this range really do not entice me as much as the value on quarterback. You're getting such better quarterbacks in the 9, 10, 11 round range than you are at running back. Like Pirine here scares the shit out of me. I already have Javonte. I'm not going to take Pirine. Khalil Herbert, while he may be a running back one, like you don't know exactly what you're getting. Like you're getting 15 plus points per game kind of minimum from these two quarterbacks, whereas you're kind of lucky to get 11 points any given week with the running backs and receivers that are going in this range. So touchdown dependent. That's one reason why I kind of like to wait on quarterback. When you're in this kind of dead zone value for the skill positions, if you haven't waited on tight end, if you don't need a guy like Njoku or Freiermuth already, remember we have TJ Hawkinson who fell to us in the 5th round. Getting your starting quarterback is really, really valuable. Definitely a solid strategy to implement. But SportDog, does Underdog notify you of league standings weekly? I don't believe so. I think you need to go in and check yourself. But it's really only kind of worth checking at the end of the season. Like you might want to just be aware of it, but because you never have to set your lineup because it's just automatically starting the best player available, there's no mental commitment that you need to apply to it. Like you can check it, but they don't tell you. They definitely don't give you notifications. Maybe if they do, it's because I haven't had notifications turned on, and that's one reason why I'm unaware of that fact. But no, I think it's just, are you curious? You go and check, see how you're doing. But without that action of your own, I don't think you're ever going to be like notified about those standings. But it really only comes down to the wire at the end of the season. Are you top 3? Do you at least get your money back? But you really only make like solid return on investment if you are first or second. Like second is only like, I want to say $8, $9. And then first place is $20 on a $3 buy-in. That's pretty solid. That's not bad. Let's just remember the rules real quick. First place gets 20, second place gets 9, and then third place gets 30. They keep $4 of this prize pool. They got to make some money. So 11% is not that bad. $20 if you win the league compared to $3. That's not bad. That's not terrible. If you're just going to practice, if you haven't spent a lot of time on Underdog, if you don't gamble a ton of money, I really recommend doing the $3, $5 buy-ins. The tournaments are solid, but investing like, $300 into let's say the Pit Bowl, like 4 entries on the Pit Bowl would be $300. That is probably not going to return much investment. That's kind of a way of throwing away a lot of money. You could do 100 of these $3 drafts and probably at least make your money back. Probably make more. But that's just me. I try to focus more of my investments in fantasy football in the real leagues. I kind of just do this for the fun and also to practice, keep an eye on how the ADPs are shifting, how the values change over the course of the offseason. There's always some good deals you can get early, and then usually some good values you can get late as things change, as news comes in, especially if you're like really paying attention to those training camp reports. You can get some good value on picks that other people might be ignoring. But we might be going tight end. I do love me some Greg Dulcich. Supposedly Kincaid is lighting up training camp so far. He is a rookie, though, so it's a little bit hard to fully buy in. Supposedly he's been playing at wide receiver a ton, so that means Dawson Knox still getting a ton of reps at tight end. I think in terms of ADP value, Knox is definitely a better, safer investment than Kincaid. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Kincaid is really, really that valuable. Laporta goes at 128. That is quite a reach on Laporta. Very, very shocking. I'd much rather have Dulcich, in my view. But we may take a third quarterback. We may set ourselves up to go Greg Dulcich, Russell Wilson. We also have Jerry Jeudy, so that's a pretty good stack as well. We also have Javonte. So, yeah, I might be tripling up, I guess quadrupling up on the Broncos if we go Dulcich here, followed by Russell Wilson. But this team does not have a tight end. We'll see what they do. Yeah, they snipe us on Dulcich, so that's a bit of a bummer. But Lazard has fallen 15 picks. I am a big fan of Lazard, especially from a touchdown perspective. Here in best ball, 7 touchdowns was his average last 2 seasons, and he is clearly the number 2 receiver in New York, in my opinion. That connection that he has with Aaron Rodgers not going away, and I feel very confident in Allen Lazard, especially if he falls to you in the late 11th round. So that's who I'm going to take, and then we're going to go Russell Wilson because we've heavily invested in the Denver offense. We have Javonte, we have Jerry Jeudy. This opens us up to go Marvin Mims a little bit later. We did not get Greg Dulcich, unfortunately, but I was a little pissed about that sniping, so I'm going to snipe this guy and cap his upside a little bit. He does not have the Greg Dulcich, Russell Wilson stack. That is not the case for him. Just a quick reminder, let's go into Javonte Williams. That is an excellent player to stack with Russell Wilson, who I think will be improved this year with Sean Payton at the head coach. Let's just take a look at his game log, because last year the numbers were not impressive. He only played in 4 games. He didn't score a single touchdown. That was really, really limiting him. But he only played 24 snaps in week 4, only 33 snaps in week 3. They could not do shit on offense. But in week 1, against Seattle, when they had the most time to prepare, Javonte Williams had 12 targets, 11 receptions. He profiles as an Alvin Kamara-esque receiving threat, and you know that Sean Payton uses the running back in the passing game. Those checkdowns are going to be so valuable, especially losing those 2 receivers in Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler. Let's remind you of his stats from his rookie season when he was splitting time with Melvin Gordon. He had 53 targets, 43 catches as a rookie. Those are definitely going up. Last year I was projecting Javonte Williams for 80-plus targets in the Nathaniel Hackett system, and in the Sean Payton system, I think you can project 80-plus receptions. I mean, he only played 4 games. He had 22 targets. That's what he was on pace up for. If he played a full season, he would have seen close to 90 targets out of the backfield. Javonte Williams is an excellent, excellent player to pair up with Russell Wilson. So now we have completely shut the door on quarterback. We have 3 guys who I have ranked between 10 and 15. To be honest, I actually have Geno ranked the highest, but we have that double stack with Cooks and CeeDee Lamb. That's definitely a good investment to make. We also have the pair of Geno Smith and JSN, and then we also have Russell Wilson paired up with not only Javonte Williams, but also Jerry Jeudy. So far, the correlation on this team, very, very good, and we're going to have some good options every single week. One of these guys is gonna hit on a per game basis. So I feel pretty good with this triple combo. We waited on quarterback for quite a while, and that is one of the reasons why I'm not afraid to take my third quarterback as early as the 12th round. Make sure we have really solid options at that position. So the tier break following Russell Wilson is pretty significant, and nobody else moving forward really correlates with our team that much. We're not going to get Rodgers later. We don't have another receiver, so we'd be trying to correlate with Breece Hall or Saquon Barkley. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. And that means quarterback is pretty much off the board for our game plan, where it's strictly running back, wide receiver, tight end the rest of the way. Roster construction is very important on Underdog. If you go 3 quarterbacks, you probably only want 2 tight ends, and TJ Hawkinson we took really early. That's a guy I feel comfortable locking up only one other tight end through this draft. But where are we in the draft? We have 8 picks until ours is on the clock. And running back is really drying up, but we have 3 really good options already, so that's not a big bummer. We have 5 receivers already. So we're probably just going to take best value moving forward, and we will see what happens. But we do have Russell Wilson, so that means Marvin Mims is going to be a player we are targeting. Team 12 only has 3 running backs as well, so that might be something that we're going to plan for, because running back is significantly drying up. That's definitely something to keep in the back of our mind. But let's see. How are we doing on the likes for this video? 3 likes. And let me know in the comment section if you would like to stick around for another draft, if you'd like to join me. Or if not, we might just cut this live stream to just 1. But if you are still watching and you'd like to join a draft with me following this, let me know in the comment section if that's a yay or nay. Okay. What's happening? Jeff Wilson goes off. Zeke goes off. Bit of a reach on Zeke. I think people are wising up to the fact that he is going to sign somewhere, definitely going to have more value than his late ADP would suggest. He's normally going like round 15. So for him to go round 13 is definitely a significant reach on him compared to what his ADP would suggest. That is for sure. But if we are going to try and if we're going to try and snipe Team 12 on the running back position, that's definitely a position of need for them. My preference would be Roschon Johnson for sure. I think Roschon is pretty much locking up that 3rd down role in Chicago. And I can't say I really, really love these guys after him. So I'm just going to take him because I know that this team at pick 12 is going to take at least 1 running back here. They got to wait 22 picks for their next double tap, and that is the position of need on their roster. So we're kind of saying fuck you to him. Yeah, he goes Deontay Foreman. I would much prefer Roschon Johnson than Deontay Foreman. We'll pull up his stats in just a second after our next pick. But, yeah, he goes double running back. He was definitely planning that position. But I do think there's a little bit more upside with MVS in terms of spike weeks. But we have that stack with Russell Wilson. We're going to take the player that correlates. I'm going to go Marvin Mims, a player that I've drafted a lot this season. So from an exposure standpoint, I'm kind of just doubling down on a player I swear he ranks at least top 5. If not, he's top 7 in terms of receivers I've taken. I'm not a believer in Courtland Sutton this year. And as I've mentioned multiple times in this video, Now that Tim Patrick, now that KJ Hamler have those injuries, Marvin Mims, a player they traded up to draft, definitely going to see a lot of touches, especially as the season goes on. I think he's going to be super, super valuable in the fantasy playoffs as, they maybe have more incentive to move off of Cortland Sutton, see what the rookie can do. Jerry Jeudy's the clear number one. I think Marvin Mims could overtake Cortland Sutton by the end of the season. But let's take a look at Roschon Johnson, who played alongside Bijan Robinson last year at Texas. He is a big, big guy. 6'2", 223, excellent pass protector. He's played 5 years in college, actually. Actually, that's weird. Why do they have him listed as a 2023 senior? That makes no sense. But from a pass-catching standpoint, he did his best work as a rookie, 23 receptions for 158 and a touchdown. Anytime a running back has caught 20-plus passes in college, remember there's fewer games, that's a great sign that they can catch the ball. While those numbers have come down a little bit, I'm not too worried about it. And remember, he did all of this with Bijan Robinson on the same team. So he is used to being a committee, and they drafted him for a reason. What was his draft capital? Let's take a look at his player profiler page. All the reports I've read at training camp suggest that he overtakes Khalil Herbert in terms of snaps because that Justin Fields needs that protection. That offensive line is not something that is really, really impressive. But his best comp is Josh Jacobs. While he doesn't stand off the page in terms of his speed, only the 65th percentile in terms of speed score, 40-yard dash, 54th percentile, 4.58. Not crazy. He profiles as a great goal line back, and if they want to take a little bit of pressure off of Justin Fields, then I think Roschon Johnson could get a ton of work on the goal line. If I'm going to invest in the Chicago Bears backfield, I do not want D'Onta Foreman. I either want Khalil Herbert or at a better ADP, I like Roschon Johnson in terms of depth. But our running back core so far is Saquon, Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, Roschon Johnson. We are not expecting him, we're not counting on him to, hit it out of the park and give us a weekly contribution. We're just looking for those spike weeks, the weeks that he gets in the end zone. That is what I want from Roschon. And I think if I left him on the board, this team at 12 would have probably doubled up with Roschon and D'Onta Foreman. If they're comfortable going with a Chicago backfield player, the third on the depth chart, I think they're wise enough to probably double up. And Devin Singletary is definitely well behind, Dameon Pierce on the depth chart. So I like Roschon Johnson at this ADP, knowing that very high likelihood he's not available coming back around. But I don't think we need to snipe MDE Boy on running back again. He already has 5, so that's probably not the most important thing to do. We are probably going to go tight end because I don't love receiver here. Jaden Reed, Curtis Samuel, Jalen Hyatt, very, very hard players to believe in. So hopefully we don't get sniped. 3 of these teams already have 2 tight ends, so it's really just a matter of do they take a third? Does league winner 7 snipe us on one of these? I'm a big fan of Irv Smith, one of my highest drafted players on the Cincinnati Bengals so far. Love his price. Was a big believer in him last year. He's dealt with injuries. That's been a big problem for him. So that's one reason to be a little worried about him. But even if we get Dawson Knox, we mentioned Dalton Kincaid is playing a ton at receiver. So not afraid to take Dawson Knox at all. And Irv Smith does get sniped, so we will be going with Dawson Knox. We do not want to get sniped. I think that's a very good pair to have with TJ Hawkinson. Hawkinson's a volume king, but he doesn't always get in the end zone, whereas Knox has scored 15 touchdowns over the last 2 years. Definitely a big target in the red zone. I don't think he's going away. They pay him a ton. We will take a look at his contract in just a moment following our 16th round selection. But, running back has been moving off the board at a premium, and I think just because I don't like receiver in this range, sometimes I go Richie James, but I've been taking him a ton. I think I'm going to move off of it. I'm going to go Leonard Fournette, a player who could easily get signed in the next week or two, kind of the same logic as Ezekiel Elliott, could easily find himself on a roster. He's such a solid veteran. I don't think he needs to spend much time in training camp in order to be plugged right in to any offense that he joins. And it's very possible that a running back gets injured, goes down, and him or Dalvin Cook, I think, are the two front runners to take on that workhorse 3-down role in any offense. I mean, let's just remind you that the last 2 years, while yes, it was with Tom Brady, 84 targets, 83 targets in at least 14 games, at least 69 receptions, back-to-back seasons. Like, hello, how the fuck is he going this late? I don't understand it. I mean, I know he's not signed on a team, and there's a little bit of risk involved, but I really can't envision a scenario where he goes more than like 3 weeks without being signed to a team. You know, there's always injuries at that position. Somebody's going to pick up Leonard Fournette, and maybe he wants the best contract possible, but the last 2 seasons, 1,266 yards from scrimmage, 10 touchdowns, 1,191 yards from scrimmage, 6 touchdowns. It's not like the Buccaneers were that good last year. There were a lot of injuries on the offensive line. He was productive, and he can really, really chip in from a pass blocking standpoint. Those receptions are going to be really good for him. 250 touches, 260 touches last 2 seasons. He still has it in him. Yes, he's going to enter his year 28 season, but everyone you're drafting at this late is in a committee already. No one has a higher likelihood and guarantee to get the work when he does find himself in a committee than Leonard Fournette. Like, Edwards, really? You trust Edwards? He doesn't catch any passes. Chuba Hubbard, there are reports that Raheem Blackshear is actually a little bit more impressive in camp than Chuba Hubbard. I think Hubbard could be a massive, massive waste of a pick in the 16th round. I do not like taking Chuba Hubbard at all. But Fournette's a better pass catcher as well. So, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Fournette misses the entire season, but that's not what he's planning. He's too good for that to happen. Someone's going to sign him. Maybe it's the Cowboys. Maybe it's the Bengals. Maybe it's the Patriots who have been working out players. Maybe it's the Dolphins. I don't know, but someone's going to add him to their team. And while it might come down to the wire, it might be like September 3rd when some team finally signs him to the active roster. I believe wholeheartedly that it will happen. So Zeke went much higher. Leonard Fournette has just as much upside. Definitely could be more valuable. As my 5th running back with 3 that I feel very confident in, I am very comfortable with this roster. We are done drafting running back. It's strictly wide receiver. Maybe we'll go tight end. No, actually, we already have 2 tight ends, and that means it's just wide receiver the rest of the way. So I feel pretty good about this team. Looks like, Mike Murray, you agree? You think this is a nice team as well? Let us know in the comment section if you disagree or agree. And we are coming down to the end. It's the 17th round. We only have 2 picks left. If you do want to join another draft after this, let me know in the comment section. But it looks like we are still sitting at 3 likes, and I think that means we're probably just going to wrap this up. Probably keep it to just 1 draft. But it's been very fun. Definitely nice time to be back here on YouTube. It has been quite some time, as I mentioned at the top of the live stream. A lot of changes going on just in my life in general. So got to get that shit sorted out before I spend all my time on YouTube. So thanks for being patient with me. I've noticed the subscriber count has held strong. Really appreciate that. And looking forward to this season. Well, it might look a little different. We might really utilize the live stream a ton because I just don't have enough time to edit as much as I did last year. It has been definitely planning to keep this thing going as much as possible. But you know who's actually had some great reports? Terrace Marshall. Very interesting. Marshall has really surged over the last 4 practices and was one of Carolina's standouts at the team's in-stadium practice Wednesday night. He may be a player we are targeting with our one of our last picks. Terrace Marshall. The receiving core is completely up for grabs in Carolina. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Terrace Marshall. In round 17, 18, even if they don't contribute like crazy, it's always worth chasing the upside. And Marshall has that speed, could definitely be the deep downfield threat for Bryce Young, a very capable rookie quarterback. Another player who I think has been really excelling at camp, while it is not part of the news, a guy Wilson could very easily be a player that you add to your roster on the waiver wire over the course of the season this year. Michael Wilson. TJ Houshmandzadeh has been raving about him like crazy. Every time I watch him on The Herd, every time they ask him for a breakout rookie wide receiver, he loves Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson, very, very interesting prospect. I don't fully trust Rondale Moore. Wilson, let's pull up his player profile page real quick because he is really, really interesting. There's not a ton of size, and we know this team is going to have a ton of garbage time and a ton of targets available with no more DeAndre Hopkins. Zach Ertz doesn't scare me. Michael Wilson coming in at 6'1", 216. Very different skill set than Rondale Moore, who is, I want to say 5'8", maybe 5'7". Best comp would be Josh Palmer. So he was hurt in college. His stats in college are not like crazy amazing. See, there's some injury plagued seasons. Only 4 games in 2020, 4 games 2021, 6 games last season. He played for Stanford, so not really like lighted up type of offense. But Michael Wilson, very, very interesting sleeper. Someone to keep an eye out on. And in round 18, we're taking a flyer on in Underdog especially. Look for him on the waiver wire. Add him to your watch list once you draft your real-life team. But let's just remind you of our full roster. We went with 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 8 receivers, 2 tight ends. We went with Dak Prescott, Geno Smith, and Russell Wilson. They all correlate with our receivers. We have CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, the double stack with Dak. We have Jerry Jeudy, Marvin Mims, the double stack with Russell Wilson. We also have JSN to stack with Geno Smith. And then we also have Allen Lazard, Terrace Marshall, and Michael Wilson to round out those 8 receivers. But we went running back heavy in rounds 2 and 3 to start off with Saquon and Breece Hall. Elite upside if both these players stay healthy. I guarantee you they will both be top 10 running backs. Could both possibly be top 5 when it's all said and done. But Javonte Williams going at pick 83. Not only is it after his ADP, I think he's going to absolutely outperform where he's going. I have him as a top 20 running back. Assuming he stays healthy, that's really the only red flag with Javonte Williams. But some depth for us at RB4 will be Roschon Johnson. Maybe he'll score some touchdowns, not counting on him like crazy. And then Leonard Fournette as our running back 5. Definitely going to outperform this ADP at 182. I love his value going way, way too late. And then tight end, we got TJ Hawkinson, 8 picks past ADP, followed by Dawson Knox as our tight end 2. So that is our roster. That's it for this team. Thank you so much for joining me here on the live stream, and I hope to see you next time here on Nice and Blunt. But hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and if you are new to Underdog and want to match your first $100 deposit, use code Nice and Blunt on sign up. That is it for me. Hope you have a great one. Have a good one.